Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you again for another Film Fanatic show. It is Friday at about 10:57. Pretty hot day. We've had some hot weather here. It's been in the high 90s. I don't think it reached 100, but pretty hot. We had a couple days, and I think it's gradually going to be cooling down. But regardless, pretty nice. Saturday is the first day of summer. Tomorrow is the summer solstice. So, yeah. So, this is a show and also a movie I've been wanting to get to, and I was really excited to talk about this movie. I picked it up on Tuesday. Today's Friday. So, I picked it up on Tuesday. Just fabulous. And I bought today's show. I did a show on this movie last year, and that is but I just recently picked it up on Blu-ray, a collector's edition that is just mind blowing, and that is 1981's The Howling. This is my all-time favorite, definitely my all-time favorite werewolf movie. This, the genres, obviously, with like horror genres or like to a degree, were or subgenres in the horror realm where there are certain subgenres that are huge, very popular, or certain movies or certain styles that you gravitate towards. One of the biggest obviously is the zombie genre or subgenre in the horror world. Tons of American films, tons of Italian zombie movies that have been put out over the years that I'm a huge fan of. And I am a huge fan of the zombie genre. And then you have like you have your like giallo films that I just recently, well, actually this morning, put up a post on Dario Argento's Deep Red, which I also bought, and that movie is just a pure masterpiece. So you have that, the giallo style of where you have, the Agatha Christie, or I should say, the Italian version of the Agatha Christie story, the murder mystery format, but done in the Italian way. Giallo also has elements of horror. They tend to be pretty graphic and violent and dark. So that's another subgenre. Then you have, the sex exploitation films that are just, great, really sleazy. A lot of filmmakers that are in the exploitation world started out in the adult porn industry, so you had a lot of carryover stylistically from that genre into horror films, slasher films. You have the slasher genre, which is my favorite subgenre of all time, just in general, but especially in the horror exploitation world. And then you have like your monster movies. You have like your classic, um, maybe films that are dealing with erotica and vampirism or werewolves and things like that, and various other movies. There's also the kind of the Bigfoot or Sasquatch subgenre. Um, Love all that stuff. Slashers are my favorite. And when it comes to the classic monster styles, especially the classic monster genres that were, or the classic monsters that were created in the 30s and 40s. The werewolf, played by Lon Chaney Jr., Boris Karloff, Frankenstein, and of course Bela Lugosi as Dracula. And then you have the Mummy. So you have the classic Universal monsters, and I definitely say out of those kind of subgenres in horror, the vampire genre is probably the biggest. It seems to be the biggest kind of cash cow. I love vampire movies. I'm a huge fan. I have many vampire films that I own, whether they're, say, well, for my money, the classic Francis Ford Coppola with Gary Oldman. probably, for my money, hands down, the greatest vampire movie ever made. Whether you have films like that or you have super low budget exploitation versions of that, the classic Dracula vs. Frankenstein. But out of those two or three kind of subgenres, my favorite has always been the werewolf film or the werewolf subgenre. I've always loved that tie-in with the psychology of the werewolf as related to us as humans. That kind of primal nature, the animal side, the beast inside. I've always loved the classic werewolf films, and at the end of the day, the Howling is my all-time favorite film in that genre. Again, there are so many great films. In comparison to, say, the vampire genre, there aren't as many, but this movie is just so damn good. It's directed by Joe Dante, who went on to direct all kinds of major movies. One of his biggest movies was Gremlins. He came out of the Roger Corman world, one of the kings of the exploitation world. And this movie came out in '81, and I definitely consider it to be part of that genre. It's super low budget. It is amazing what they were able to do with this film. I have such a long history with this movie. I have seen this. This is one of those movies I've seen so many times I can't even count. This was, probably when I was a kid. I was like millions of other kids. I was enamored by seeing the black and white Frankenstein with Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi and the Wolfman with Lon Chaney Jr. Those movies were integral to my youth. I probably saw those movies first when I was a kid, and then also the Toho Godzilla movies. Those movies were always on cable. They were like in syndication. So it was like daily. I remember as a kid turning on the TV and those movies would be on constantly. So they were like probably, it's safe to say that was my first kind of foray or introduction into the horror genre, and especially monster movies. And as I got older, I got into a lot of other films, and then the emergence of, I'm a child of the '80s, so VHS was the thing. And but the one movie I remember seeing all the time, constantly, was The Howling. I used to be on cable all the time. It was a big, back in the day when VHS was the thing. I used to rent it all the time on VHS. And the thing that was so interesting about this movie, and I see it even more, I get more of a realization of it now when I watch it as an older person. The psychology of the film. It deals with. It's not. I mean, obviously, it's a classic monster movie, classic werewolf film, and it's got the great kills and the atmosphere that you want. But it definitely deals with kind of the psychological aspect, where it kind of ties it into man's relationship to nature. Those primal instincts, and it does have, to a degree, a sense of where it's a little bit grounded. The whole man as an animal first and foremost. Those primal instincts that we all have, and kind of the psychological nature and how that is, how we are tied to kind of the mystique of the werewolf. The mythological aspects of it. And again, this movie was a constant staple of my diet. Dee Wallace starred in this film. Christopher Stone, Dennis Dugan, John Carradine, Belinda Belasky, Kevin McCarthy, the amazing Elizabeth Brooks, Dick Miller, and it was, of course, like I said, directed by Joe Dante. And, you know, this movie also dealt with. It was the first movie, I think it was really, realistically, aside from being, my favorite werewolf movie, and it had, kind of those psychological avenues that it kind of explored. It was also probably the first movie I saw as a kid that had aspects of sex or erotica tied in with horror, because that's very much part of that's very much a part of this movie. It definitely has that primal, that very sexual um, avenue or avenues that are definitely explored, especially with Elizabeth Brooks, who is one of the werewolves in it, and I remember her being easily my first crush. She's the epitome of sexuality, and anybody who has seen this movie will probably know what I'm talking about. But it was kind of the first time being exposed to horror and sexuality kind of emerging as one, and the rest is history. And I have this I have the Howling on DVD, and again, I've seen this movie so many times. I've rented it so many times over the years on VHS, on DVD. I bought a DVD copy of it probably about. I've had this DVD copy of it for probably about 6 years or so, and I've watched it many, many times. It's a pretty good transfer. There's no special features on it. And so I was in Bangor on Tuesday, and I was on my way to a doctor's appointment, and so I didn't have very much time. I didn't have very much time as far as being able to be in the shop and checking things out. I was running a little bit behind on time, but I wanted to go there. I needed to go, so I stopped in at Bull Moose. And so I was there for like 5 or 10 minutes. It was a little bit silly. But I came across The Howling on Blu ray, and it's a collector's edition. And I was just like, holy shit. I got this and Deep Red. And I was like, I freaking scored. I Well, sorry, no, I got The Howling and Vigilante, which is a movie I'm very excited to see. I've never seen it, and it's directed by Bill Lustig, who directed Maniac, my favorite slasher movie of all time. I've always heard about it, never seen it. But I was so pumped that I saw this on Blu-ray. It was super cheap. It was like $10. And there are tons of special features on here. And the thing is too that's funny and surprising, since I never even seen this movie on Blu-ray before, and the DVD version I have of this film is pretty good quality. It's definitely good, but I've never seen any interviews about this movie. I've never seen any kind of special features, and there's like 2 hours or close to 3 hours of special features on this disc. So just amazing. I just about finished all of the special features last night. Just amazing. There's documentaries. There's two full length documentaries about The Howling. The Howling became this huge franchise. There's like I think 9 or 10 movies in this franchise. The rest of the movies I'd like to see again. I haven't seen in such a long time. I remember a few of them being pretty good. The second one being pretty good, but you can't beat the classic. This was a huge franchise. I forgot how big of a franchise The Howling became, and this is classic. Low budget indie horror filmmaking. It came out in the '80s, '81. my favorite decades are the 70s and the early 80s, and this was like prime time. This movie was a huge hit. It set the bar really high as far as you know as far as effects. Rob Bottin, who was the effects designer, created the monster effects, the werewolf effects. I mean, one of the greatest examples. This film is one of the greatest examples of why practical effects are just is the way to go. You can't beat practical effects. Rob Bottin also did the effects for probably the one of the greatest horror movies of all time, and that is The Thing, directed by John Carpenter. He designed the effects for that. But amazing, amazing, and yeah, and the transfer of this film on Blu-ray is jaw-dropping. I mean, it's literally like I've said it many, many times, but often the case for me when I buy a movie that I really love, whether it's a movie I've seen a lot or maybe it could be say the first time, but especially I notice it for movies that I've seen multiple times. When I buy a good version of that film on Blu-ray, for me it's like a totally new and fresh experience, and it's like watching the film for the very first time. And this is a prime time example of that. I can't recommend this enough. This is the collector's edition of The Howling. Amazing, amazing, and I love this movie. And so, if you haven't seen this movie, well, you should see it anyway if you haven't seen it. It's a pretty popular movie. But if you haven't seen it on Blu-ray, which again was new for me, it's amazing. It's like watching for the first time. This is the definitive version of it. So I love this movie to death. My favorite werewolf movie of all time. So thanks again, and we will see you next time. Peace.